Welcome back to Film Time Recaps. If there is really superpower, which one would you like to have? Today, let's watch a superpower movie, Unhealer. Spoiler ahead, watch out and enjoy the movie. Story begins. A boy who was often bullied by his classmates, after gaining superpowers, he punished those bullies, let them can't be cured. A drunken old man came into the middle of nowhere, dug up an old cemetery and took out the dead body of the owner. Almost at the same time, a flash of lightning fell from the sky, blew the old man out. Soon after, the old man went to the town and announced that he had the power to take away any sickness and pain. As long as people paid, he had cured all diseases. This scene was seen by a single mother. She had a son, Nelson, who had pica, which means he ate weird stuff. Other people buy instant noodles because they want to eat noodles, but Nelson chewed up the packaging instead of eating noodles, so the townspeople thought he was a freak. One day he met the school football team. They were led by the football coach's two sons, Reed and Derry. The five were known as schoolyard thugs. When Nelson was being bullied, Kayla came out to help him out. Kayla and Nelson had known each other since they were kids. They were also in the same class. Besides, Nelson always had a crush on Kayla, but he never dared to confess. Recently Nelson's mother found that Nelson's condition was getting more and more serious. By chance, the old man appeared and gave her hope. The old man promised to help Nelson with his illness. Before leaving, a man stopped the old man. He said the power of the old man belongs to the other tribe, so the old man must return it. The man also warned the old man, misuse of the power would eventually kill him, but the old man ignored this. After seeing the weak Nelson, the old man began to cast a spell, but the strange thing happened. The moment he touched Nelson, he was tightly caught. The old man screamed in pain and finally fell to the ground and died. After the police identified that the old man was a religious con artist, his death was also classified as an accident. The next day, Nelson cut his hand accidentally, and accidentally found that the wound on his hand healed itself. Not even a scar remained. Nelson immediately realized that he had superpowers. He was very excited. On the way to school, Derry met Nelson and bullied him, but he didn't know Nelson's superpower also had a protective power. All the damage to Nelson was rebound back to Derry. At night, the coach brought Derry to Nelson. He already knew his two sons often bullied Nelson. He did have suffered seriously. He wanted an explanation from Nelson's mother. When Nelson's mother found out that the coach was also a loser, she kicked the three of them out directly. After the coach left, Nelson told his mother about his self-healing powers. Nelson's mother was very happy when she found out. She also told him to keep a low profile. That day during class, Kayla's hairband fell off. Nelson got it and the pica started again. So he ate the tag. But then, he discovered a new skill hidden in his body. As long as Nelson swallowed something that was used by someone, he can control the owner's body in consciousness. At night, the school held a campfire party. Reed took the initiative to molest Kayla. Nelson saw it and came out to save her. Derry, who had already experienced Nelson's powers, he didn't dare to mess with Nelson. He could only stand aside and watch quietly. But Reed didn't believe him. He also wanted to avenge his brother. After the party was over, a few people drove behind Nelson. They kept making dangerous moves to provoke and scare him. Finally, a fatty still felt not enough. Then he stepped on the gas, directly bumped on Nelson. When everyone came back to their consciousness, they found Nelson was unharmed, but the fatty who hit Nelson became a bloody dead man. Reed saw this situation, finally believed everything his brother said. After the accident, Kayla also arrived at the scene. Kayla swore she would keep it a secret. From that moment on, the distance between them became closer. On the other hand, Reed didn't want to give up. He wanted to take revenge for Derry and the fatty. At night, the tribal man found Nelson. He guessed the old man transferred the power of the gods to Nelson before he died. When he arrived home, Nelson learned that his mother was not feeling well, so he told her to rest at home. He went out to buy medicine. Meanwhile, Reed came near Nelson's house. He wanted to make a prank to destroy Nelson's house, but he didn't know that the prank would cause a gas explosion. Nelson's mother was also buried in the fire. After the was in charge of the investigation of the fire, the man found Adler. He was also a resident of the tribe. He told him about Nelson's tribal power, but Adler didn't believe him. After all, it was just an old legend. Afterwards, the people of the town held a funeral for Nelson's mother. Halfway through the ceremony, Nelson came to the graveyard where the old man was buried. There was a strange kind of wild vine growing here. Nelson grabbed a handful of leaves and chewed them. But soon, Nelson's body had a serious rejection reaction. This scene was seen by Kayla's best friend. After the funeral, Adler asked Nelson, did he do any movement before the incident? Because he found the stones under the house had been pulled. He suspected that there was another secret for the fire. At the same time, Reed reappeared. They have no remorse for the death of Nelson's mother. They kept provoking and taunting. Nelson identified his mom's death must be related to these scum, so he was determined to get revenge. Nelson knew that Reed and the others were going swimming, so he hid nearby. He used his superpowers, then killed one of the killers of his mother in the water. After the death of Mike, Reed concluded that it was Nelson's work, so he chose to call the police, but they hid the fact that they murdered Nelson's mother. The next day during class, Nelson suddenly broke into the classroom. This time the target was Tony. He wanted Tony to confess that they had killed Nelson's mother. Not only did Tony refuse to confess, but he also lost his mind. He threw a corrosive chemical potion on Nelson, but the damage rebounded. Tony got what he deserved. At night, Kayla's friend found Reed. She wanted to revenge for his boyfriend Tony. She told Reed that she saw Nelson ate the vine at the funeral. The next day Adler found some evidence in the coach's car, so he was sure that Nelson's mother's death was related to Reed's brothers. Also and ate Reed's clothes. Then he drilled himself with a drill. The pain was transferred to Reed. But in the end, Reed still had no remorse. He sprayed the wild vine juice on Nelson. This temporarily suppressed the power in his body. After seeing this, Kayla also rushed over to help. At that moment, to save his son, the coach grabbed the police gun and shot at Nelson. When the gun went off, the superpower transferred damage again, so the gun killed both Coach and Reed. After getting revenge, Nelson promised Kayla to return the power to the tribe, but the strange thing is that no matter how to cast the spell, the power did not leave Nelson's body. Kayla saw Nelson being tortured. She wanted to help him escape, but the uninformed police shot at the two of them. Seeing Kayla die because of himself, Nelson lost his control, and at this time, the power escaped from Nelson's body. Adler was worried that the situation would go on, so he shot him. After Nelson's death, the power of the gods also disappeared. On the other hand, the ambulance carried Nelson and Kayla's bodies to the morgue. Halfway to the morgue, Kayla came back to life. It turns out that the power of God chose her in the end. Would you like this superpower? It seems like a curse but also makes you bulletproof. Please let us know what you think. Also, press subscribe for more videos. See you next time.